Hello, Repliters, and welcome to Replit 101. This is the live stream where we try and answer all your coding problems live and loud. We need to think of a better tagline for this, but this is the last Replit 101 for a little while. We're going to give it a bit of a pause as we try and think of a way to engage everyone with Replit 101 and our live streams and try and make them a bigger audience draw. Because we have a great async following on this live stream. We have a great number of people that tune in live, but we want to make it bigger. So we're going to take a little bit of a pause while we rethink and regroup. But if any of you guys have ideas on how we can increase the audience and we can make it more useful for more people, any of our live events, please do. And that's what we're going to have to think about over the next couple of weeks before we relaunch. I can see a bunch of you are asking to start a petition to keep Replit 101 going. And yeah, go for it if you really want to, guys. Appreciate it. But as you all know, we're here to solve as many programming problems as we can today. So let's start in the same way we start every Replit 101 live stream by looking at what's new in Replit. And luckily, it's not been quite as busy a week as last week, where I had to demo for about 20 minutes before we carried on. But this week, I've got something very special to show you, which is, if I scroll the right way, oh, what could this be? It's the desktop app, which a lot of people have been clamoring for. I'm not going to give you a massive tour of it because it is a desktop app of Replit, but I just wanted to show you how nice it is to work with it. If we start a Python REPL, we've got all the same options that we've got anywhere else. And it's jumping up on my other screen, but there we go. But it is really, really nice to have a local version. And of course, we've got the same levels of zooms and stuff that we'd have elsewhere. So, I mean, it's worth me saying that whenever I do these live streams, I'm always zoomed into about 150%. So it always looks a bit like, whoa, just so you can see the code. But if I'm coding away myself at home, I'm usually sort of at this level of zoom. So I can have as much on the screen as possible. But it is very nice to have a local app. Now, Ethan's asking when it's going to be released. We're a while away from it being released yet, but we will be in a testing phase very, very soon. I'm sure we'll post to the Ask Forum when we want some beta testers. We want some people to start having a look and running on a few more platforms. But genuinely, I've been using this for the best part of 2 weeks now, I think, since we announced it as part of Developer Day, and it feels very rock solid. I've not really been using the website that much because I've been using the local app instead. So it's really, really nice and really, really nice to have that local app. But I just wanted to show that off and show how cool it is. It works exactly the same way you'd expect, but that creating a REPL is key. And you can, of course, have more than one Windows as you want. Ethan saying, we'll have as many reasons as your machines have, or was that TBD? And is asking for early access for mods. We'll see what happens there. I'm not in charge of this rollout. And in fact, the people building this are doing a brilliant job. But you'll have to stay tuned to see if you can get in on the invites. But very soon to seeing public testing of that. But back to the old website, he says, a website that's updated constantly, because we have one really cool feature in Bounties that's been implemented this week, which people have been clamoring for ages. And it doesn't feel like a massive amount, but it is a big deal. Now, where's my test one? Here we go. We'll give this one a go. I think this is it. And we have chat baked straight into Bounties. And that there honestly solves a lot of the frustrations I had previously with my bounty posting, which was that I was having to jump to different platforms to talk to people. It was going on Discord or it was going on to email. And that context switching for me means that I'm less productive. So to stop what I'm doing, engage with that, and then come back to Replit to carry on with what I was doing. The fact that it's all there now means that if you're a bounty poster or you're a bounty hunter, all your communication can be on platform, and it's just much nicer and neater to have it all there. So if you're interested in bounties, that chat is all good to go and should be rolled out to everyone. I hope as well that everyone's taking advantage of extensions. I certainly am. Let's build a Python REPL and have a quick look. The extensions have been rolled out, I believe, to everyone now. But extensions, whilst there's a small number at the moment, there are some absolute corkers, including REPL Chat, which puts chat in REPLs or cross REPLs. We've got a REPL DB editor as well, which I think is absolute gold, especially if you've done anything with 100 days of code and you've tried to use REPL DB. When I was recording those videos, before there was a visual viewer, before there was an extension, it's a bit hit or miss. You have to write code to access that. But this entire thing here, the extensions, is really, really nice. There is even prettier the code formatter now, which in fact wasn't there when I was looking at this the other day. So I'm just going to very quickly activate the extension for me here. And you can see how easy it is to install there. It'll just go, oh, I've got to accept and activate the options there, but it'll put it in and you'll see it just stick it down here for me. So I want to bring it up. I can. And I can apply it to different files and stuff. I've not used this one before, but it is asking me for configuration information, blah, blah, blah. But the extensions is going to be massive. If you're not building extensions yourself, keep your eye on it, because even things like REPL.tv is a way of live streaming the code you're doing as just outputs. You don't have to multiplayer invite people to your REPL and worry about the mess around your code. You can literally just stream the video of that going on. We've even got things like an AI playground to compare different AIs together. In fact, there's just so much more than last time I was on here, which is brilliant. I'm very, very pleased with how extensions are going. I'm very, very impressed with the functionality it's giving me when I'm doing my dev work. And actually, if you are porting anything over, please do it faster, because I'd love to have more extensions, but go grab that if you can. Lavacraft is, can I get my extension verified after I create it? Yes, I believe so. I think if you go to the docs and the developer guide, there will be contact information there on how to get it all sorted and verified. And then go into the store and you'll be good to go there, which is great. And I believe, not that I've seen it at the moment, but I believe the plan is to have paid for extensions as well. So it's a possibility if you've got an idea for one that maybe uses AI, so you need to pay a certain amount to get your tokens, you could have a paywall in front of it. But extensions is making a big difference to me for everything that I'm doing. And hopefully it'll make a big difference to you as well, which will be pretty cool. Let's start going through our questions tonight, because as the last Replit 101 for a while, we do want to go through it. But I do just want to start with this. I'm on the wrong window. It would be more dramatic if I flick to it. It was Google I/O today. And did you notice the presence of a certain browser-based IDE company in there? Well, this is an example of Google's Bard generating code. And look what we've got straight there. In the AI, it's export to Replit. Now, if like me, you enjoy using something like ChatGPT, but the idea of copy pasting chunks of code and making files drives you insane, well, integration directly into Bard seems like a big win for me. There's also a bunch of stuff that was Replit based announced at Google I/O, including a quick little video with Amjad, who's our CEO, talking about AI and how we use Google AI and things like that together. But that, I think, is pretty cool. There's a bunch of other stuff as well. But to me, having the export to Replit button straight there when the AI generates code for you is absolute chef's kiss. I'm so in love with that, because that's my biggest frustration with ChatGPT, is just getting that code out and back into Replit, which is why my heart belongs to Ghostwriter. But there you go. Go watch Google I/O if you like. There's a bunch of stuff that was announced that's really, really cool aside from that. But interestingly, the first question I've picked up on Ask tonight, and the Ask forum, ask.replit.com, is where you should go, by the way, if you have any questions after today. Whilst we're on our little hiatus, let's call it an end of season special, is it? It's the writer's strike, so maybe maybe the reason Replit 101 is going is because of that, but it's definitely not. Don't worry, I'm not an active member of the writers union. It would be strange if I was, wouldn't it? But yeah, anyway, I'm talking rubbish here. But ask.replit.com is the place to go to get your programming questions answered quickly and easily by a bunch of very, very knowledgeable individuals. It's really, really great, actually. The amount of questions being posted and the answers come back straight away has really sort of taken the wind out of my sails a little bit on Replit 101. Gone are the days when Replit 101 was me going through unanswered posts and trying to come up with answers for them. Now they're all answered, which is actually better for me because I get to sneak a look at the answers before I attempt them. But this is a great one to have a look at, because the code X7 also asked this. What exactly is a package manager? How do I use Nix? Does it have its own language associated to port packages? Okay, so sorry, I half read this, and it's a little bit different to the ask question. So let's have a look at the code X7's answer, and at the same time, we'll answer this one. This question is all about installing Python modules in Replit. So let's jump over to Replit and let's have a look at what's on offer. Now, I'm just going to start by creating a Python REPL because that'll help us answer one of the questions at least. And the thing to remember is there's a bunch of different things here that we're dealing with. There's the idea of a package, which are packages manager here in the tools section will let us deal with. These are essentially libraries that you could pull into something like Python. So like NumPy is a really obvious one. And in fact, these libraries are already installed. The Flask library, the Replit library, NumPy, and URLlib3. But let's install something really commonly used now, like LangChain. So I look for the package, I click install, and that just processes in the background and gets installed into my REPL. This is a really, really nice visual, easy to use way to bring those libraries and those packages in. If you've ever had to do pip install for a million different things or installing dependencies, this is just a nicer, more visual way of doing that. And there we go. LangChain is now installed. And I can also remove it if I want to very, very easily from the package manager here. It's also installed all the dependencies it needed very, very, very quickly. So packages as they stand, essentially libraries for Python, can be installed with the package manager. Now you can just go to the shell and pip install if you'd like to, and you can get much more customization and control there. But honestly, I find the package manager to be pretty solid. QWERTY says package manager can be buggy sometimes. Yeah, occasionally it does a bit of fuzzy matching, especially if you are if it is running automatically from the code in your REPL. So one of the things that the package manager does is if you import a package that isn't installed, it will try and do a bit of fuzzy matching and go, oh, well, maybe I should install that. So if I were to, in the first line of my code in this Python file, just write something like import LangChain, then the package manager would be activated in the back end and go and install that before the code is actually interpreted or run, which is pretty cool. But as you can imagine, that's not the most perfect way of doing that. So that can be a bit buggy occasionally. I've had situations where the package manager, if I click install, doesn't actually install things, but the issues of that are never the package manager itself, it's the packages that are being installed. If you flick over to the shell, if you're having any problems, you'll see the error message being reported from the package install. And often this is because a package has been updated to a different version. And of course, these packages aren't stored by us. These packages are stored on their home servers. And there's a change that breaks it. And in fact, I was having a massive problem with something that we needed for AI tooling the other week. And it was simply because they'd updated the packages on their branch and it broke. So whenever the package manager was trying to install the latest version, it was causing problems. Now, a bit of manual tweaking there meant I get a specific version. But the nice thing about the package manager is you can install those things really, really quickly and really, really simply. But the question from the Codex 7 was also, sorry, that's a previous, that's the next question. There we go. So the package manager in particular is about that. Nix is something completely different. Now, Nix is a way of bringing components into our REPL like entire languages. That can be packaged up. I'll show you where our Nix files are. In fact, it's there. I think I must have my hidden files turned off. Here we go. You can, if your hidden files are hidden, you can just click the kebab menu and click show hidden files to see that. Replit.nix, which I'll just bring over here, basically tells it which packages to install on the back end. And remember, anything installed here does not count towards your storage limit, which is a really nice way of being able to pull in a lot more complexity and a lot more detail into a working environment than you'd want. What are these packages? Well, these are Nix packages. So how do we find out about those? Well, we need to have a look at Nix, our Nix package, our Nix packages. And I'll just bring a window over for that if I can. Here we go. So this is the Nix OS package search. And again, this isn't something that we've created. This is like an open source project. This is a big thing. You can actually build an entire computer that runs entirely on Nix if you'd like. And Nix is just a way, like, for instance, if I go back to where we were, this line here says, I want Python 3.1.0, the full version of it. I also want prybar, and I want the standard error packages. And it brings all those in. If I want to bring in some more, and let's have a look, what Python stuff have we got? I can't spell. I could bring in Python 2 if I wanted to go a bit old school. We've got 3.9, 3.8, 3.7, 3.11. Shall we see if we can update it to 3.11? Well, updating my REPL to use 3.11 should be as easy as that. Now, cross your fingers, that wasn't what it was called elsewhere, but that should hopefully rebuild the entire version in the background. And I should be able to do Python 3 and that's 3.10.8. So do I need to save that and refresh it? Keyboard intro isn't killing it. Maybe that wasn't the correct package, but the 3.11 package that we see here we go, this one there, should give us the different version of Python. You can see I've got Python 3 full, Python 2 full, and even broken down, and I can't see Python 3.1.1.4, which is probably what our issue is here. But, you know, there's loads of Python stuff you can bring in. There's even, I think I've talked about this in one of my Nix videos, I can just install WordPress on a Nix container if I wanted to. Now, you can then combine technologies in really interesting ways. Like you could bring in C if you wanted to, and the normal C compilers and stuff like that to work alongside Python. There's a bunch of reasons you might want to do that, but there's just so many different packages. There are 80,000 Nix OS packages, and there's so much that you can bring in. There's so much you can do with it. Even really weird and wonderful things. You know, we've got Haskell, we've got all the different languages. It's the reason Replits are powerful. It's powered this on the back end. But this is different to those Python packages. Think about Python packages as the libraries that we're installing for Python. The Nix stuff is to make your container have more flexibility and more stuff to do. There's a little overlap in that some of these packages are available to install as libraries and some of them are available as Nix containers. But honestly, try and use the package manager if you can. And this website here, nixos.org, is where you find the Nix packages if you'd like to go in and manually adjust that stuff, which is pretty straightforward, hopefully. But I've got a video all about Nix on the YouTube channel. If you'd like to go and find that, go and track it down. And me and our Nix head honcho, Ryan, talk about what Nix is, the power of it, how it works, and just get a good overview on it. And I've just thought of a better idea for the video title than what I actually use, which is a shame. 3 signatures on the petition already, Ethan. Brilliant. If we can get it up to, say, 300, I'll be quite happy to bring it back earlier. Again, it's just we're looking at ways of making sure that Replit 101 can support the entire community and not just sort of like the 10 of us that turn up live and the sort of 300 or 400 people that watch it asynchronously. It would be lovely to get those numbers up more to in the region of what our YouTube channel videos are doing just generally there. And I think we need to change it up a little bit to get that going. Okay, more questions from the Codex 7. And I did miss this starting point, sorry, which was a little bit of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, starting Python next week. Okay, so the main thing that my best advice to you if you're starting Python is the only thing you need to care about really when you're starting is you create a REPL, you pick Python, and you create. And as far as you're concerned, that's all you need for the first probably month, I would imagine. Type your code in here, click run. If you'd like, why not bring our little chum Ghostwriter up? If you pay for that, Ghostwriter Chat is very good at Python. A program to show today's date. There we go. We can run that and we can get today's date popping out. Ghostwriter Chat is also really good at debugging the problem. So if I do something like this, break that line of code, run it, then, okay, can't break a line of code by putting a random space in it in Python. He finds out, funnily, you get this little button here, which Ghostwriter will help us debug as well and show us what's wrong with it. It's a great thing to have if you're paying for it, because it does solve those little errors that you get up front. That when you're first learning how to program, it's lots of little errors that don't make a lot of sense to you. Ghostwriter Chat can help with that because it can explain the errors to you in plain English. Also, I'd like to push for you, if you're starting Python reasonably soon, on our Learn page, my 100 Days of Code course, where I teach Python in 100 days, going from nothing to full-blown web development, is totally free and goes from learning it from scratch all the way up to using APIs and OpenAI stuff and stuff like that, which is pretty good and pretty comprehensive. And we get a lot of good feedback on that. It's a great thing to do as well as however you're learning it, or however you're dealing with it. And it might help you get up and running really, really quickly. If being taught how to code by devilishly handsome bald men is your thing, then this, this very much is for you. Dad jokes aplenty, bald jokes galore. I can guarantee you that. Right, okay. Okay, sorry, that's question 2. How do I connect my front-end, back-end code and database all together on Replit? Well, I suppose that really depends on how you've built it. In any REPL, the key thing to do is pick the right language. Now, my bag is usually Python. If I pick Python, then I can build Flask, which can run the front end. I can build templates out for the pages. I can bring a database in very, very easily through that. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So that's my bag. That's what I'll demo. But I know that a lot of people like the old Node.js. Got a lot of time for the JavaScript variations. I quite like React. The idea is to pick the right template. We've got, I'm sure we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of templates, but the software stack you pick allows you to combine those things all together. You can, in a very roundabout way, have a back end that works on one REPL and a front end that works on another REPL, and you can get them to talk to each other. But that is not the most efficient way, because you're sending requests across the internet, or at least across our server infrastructure, to get that to work. The best way to do it is to have everything working in the REPL, the back end, the front end, and the database all in the one place, because that way you get the least latency and the most flexibility in what you can do. So I'm going to bring up a Python one in a second and bring it up. Devilish bald man. I think I said devilishly handsome bald man, Ethan. Thank you very much. Where did we go for that? Hold on, sorry. Which question are we working on? It was, there we go, this one. So let's pick Python, just because that's my bag. I said that's my bag. It's my current bag. I was a big PHP MySQL fan in a past life, not that long ago. Let's get Ghostwriter Chat up and let's build a Flask site on 0.0.0.0. If you're wondering why I'm doing that, it's because in order to get a web view to pop up automatically, it needs to be listing on that port. So I always start with that. That counts down to my birthday in days, which is December 8th. Here we go. Okay, so we need a couple of files here. So we need our main code. Now let's assume this is our back-end code, because it is. It's doing the stuff there, isn't it? We also need our front-end code. And in this case, this front-end code is a bit of HTML here. And I'm going to create a file here called, we need a folder called templates first. So a folder called templates. By the way, you've probably seen this demoed, but we are aiming to get Ghostwriter Chat being able to affect file tree and do these sorts of things for you. And we're going to make a new file. What's happened to my REPL here? Oh, disconnected. There we go. Reconnect itself. And a file in here that we're calling countdown.html. Oh, dear me. Lost the ability to type today. I'm just going to paste that code in there. In fact, I'll bring it over here so we've got both those things together here. And that looks good. If I click run, do I get what I want? Oh, there we go. That's pretty cool. So I've got my front end code and my back end code in the same REPL here. And when we click run, they're being brought together by the Flask server. Now, interestingly, I think, is that the combination of those two things means that you only have to run one REPL. You only have to pay for one lot of deployments or one lot of always on, depending upon what you want to use. If you're pushing out a web app or something more comprehensive like that, you know, as much as I want to say, no, have 15 REPLs and we'll take your money for all of them. The reality is, anybody running a web app or a web server is aiming to keep costs down. Our deployments feature would be great now for using this, and that's the release function at the top, pushing it to a separate production server and letting that just sit there for everyone to use whilst we keep fiddling with the code here and not having that visible to the end user. But having it all in one place means we only have one lot of costs associated with that, which is amazing. And the deployments will work better as a result of having everything together. Now, the other question was databases. Now, we could use Nix to bring in something like MySQL and mess around with it. We could use Replit DB, which is our free database. It's a key value store, so it's more simplistic than something like an SQL database or Postgres database. But if you are interested in that, and that covers, for me, Replit DB covers like 90% of my use cases. I just need to store key value pairs somewhere for the user persistently, or I need to store a bit of information in there. Most things I build, I use those for, because it's small amounts of data that I'm storing in the projects I make. That's the database tool down here, and it shows you all about how you can do that. It shows you how many keys you can have, how many megabytes of data, and shows you all the ways of working with it. Once again, my Replit 100 Days of Code course covers this in detail. It's one of the key parts of it. We use this a lot to talk about key value pairs and storing it. Now, the code would only run on Replit then, because that's a Replit specific feature, but I don't really see reasons why you would want to go elsewhere most of the time. We can deploy all this with a Replit database now, so that's pretty cool. But if you want the full experience, if you want proper Postgres databases, we have those too. Postgres databases are a paid feature, but they're what you get for the money is great. It's $1 a day. We can click use cycles to create a DB there. I'm just going to say yes to that. And straight away, we're connected to a database which is created by Neon, actually. You might have heard about them recently because they've been partnering with Vercel as well in the last week, but we got there first. We've had this for a while. But you can see there we've got set up initially with our default data tables. We can run queries. We can see the contents of the tables there directly from the little browser, and we can bring the database in very, very simply. In fact, I believe I do have a databases course on the Learn page. Let me show you that. In fact, what I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to turn that database off because I'll forget, and I wonder where my cycles are going. On the Learn page, we should have a small course on databases, I believe. Here we go, Intro to PostgreSQL. And there are, if I enroll in it, you won't be wondering why I'm not enrolled in this. It's because we had a different name for it when we were testing it. Yeah, there we go. We've got a couple of lessons there, how to connect it, return queries, multi-table queries, and a challenge there, all video based with tutorial feature talking you through how to use those databases. And that allows you to connect those three things together. Now, if you've got front end, back end, and database component, you've got most of the things you need for a successful web app nowadays. You can also very quickly include AI with some AI function calls, and you've got everything you need for a modern web app. And deployments allows you to push that out and start making money very, very quickly. All of that in a single REPL is what you want because it keeps your cost down. And that's really what you want. Okay, more questions then. Let's see what's next. Let's pop it back to the home because my brilliant graphics are overpowering me a little bit there. And by the way, the Codex 7, if there's any questions that you want more detail in, please do ask. Okay. Oh, Ethan, I missed this one. We are going to have subscriptions for extensions, apparently. Who said that? Anna said that. Okay, cool. That'll be quite cool because that's a more sustainable way of running a business, really, isn't it? We're having subscriptions and stuff. And you know what? Subscriptions for extensions is something I'm probably more likely to pay anyway. But the extensions feature, absolute gold. There's so much good stuff coming to that. And I've seen some of the beta software. I've seen some stuff, by the way, that's Cody Lowe, who you may know as a big person in the Bitcoin community, has got an extension coming soon, which will blow your socks off. He showed me today, and I was amazed. He's a cracking guy. So do keep your eyes out for that if you're interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and things like that. Okay, I'm mainly doing the Codex 7's questions today, but we are going through them slowly. How do I manage to replicate the config file? How does the config file replicate to the Nix package manager? I think the best thing to do, honestly, is go and find that video on the YouTube channel. If you go to the YouTube channel and you just go to, if you just search for Replit Nix and you look for the one with my bald head on there, because we've got a couple of them, Ryan and I go through all this and we look at the files, but let's have a look at the difference. So the replit.nix file is the file that defines the Nix packages and how the packaging environment is going to work. This is quite a complicated one for the Python packages because it's been customized a lot to say, okay, we're having Python 3.1 and we're having, 3.10 and a bunch of other stuff. And this is how they're going to interact. And we're going to bring these env variables in, stuff like that. You know, there's stuff in there specifically for pandas and numpy. There's stuff in there particularly for pygame, matplotlib, you know, a bunch of the standards that people will bring in, and there's special cases for all that. The Nix file basically says, look, when you start up, this is what's going to be in the environment available for you. So unless you're bringing in Nix things especially, I often don't touch this. A file I touch more often is the config file, the .replit file. But again, not always. This just defines like what's going to happen when you click the run button. What's the entry point? What's the file that you go to the moment you open a REPL like this? You can even set the Nix channel. Now, when we were looking, and let's see if I still got it open. Yeah, here we go. The channel 22.11 is the current stable channel. But that doesn't contain all the packages. Unstable will contain unreleased, unstable versions of packages that we haven't yet got. So I look at Python here. There we go. We got Python 3.12, which I don't think is out yet. I think it might be an alpha. Oh yeah, here we go. It's alpha 7. So this is Python 3.12 is not yet production ready. But if you want to be working on it, you set your .replit file to the unstable channel here by changing that to unstable, and you get access to all those unstable newer Nix packages that haven't quite made it to the main branch yet. There's other things you can do with interpreted commands, environment variables you can bring in, even things like how to run the unit tester. I mean, this particular example is very complicated, but the thing I use most, honestly, is this. It's line 9, what files are going to be hidden by default. So if I hide the hidden files, what's not going to be seen? When I do tutorials, I often add poetry.lock, comma, and PyProject all to the list to get rid of the package manager files in the view. This just makes it easier for learners. But also, if I'm doing tutorials, you'll know that a tutorial file a tutorial REPL has a .tutorial folder, he says, unable to type tutorial without adding a right square bracket to the end. And basically what that does is it pops up this tutorial pane. And we can put markdown files in here. We picked up by the tutorial. And if I close that and then open it back up, we're seeing the contents of our tutorial file now, which is exactly the sort of thing we want to be having. But that's the sort of thing that we can hide with the .replit file, because learners don't want to see a .tutorial folder there. So if I do that, that should then hopefully disappear. So we can talk about that and mess around with it to its heart's content. That, again, honestly, the Codex 7, if you're just starting to learn Python, I wouldn't be worrying about any of this stuff. If you're starting learning, if you're really concerned about it, go get the 100 days of code and start working your way through some of the basics. If you know programming already, you should be able to churn through it pretty fast. And in fact, if it's something obvious, you can just mark it as done and move on to the next one if you want. But really with Replit, all you need to do to start programming in a different language is create a REPL, pick the template, start typing, click run. That's 99% of what you'll need to do with it as you start learning. And the packages and all that sort of stuff come later as you're getting more complex. But do jump back on if you need to. That's the point of it. You know, that's the point of these questions. And of course, if you get to a point in a couple of weeks, you're like, oh, I need to ask that ball guy some questions again. Ask it in REPL Ask. If it's a question that only I can answer, somebody will ping me from the mod team, which is always good. Okay, let's have a look. What else have we got here today? Oh, okay. How to color a text on a REPL. I tried, but it didn't work. Well, usually this is just changing the sort of well, I'm assuming that what we're talking about here, Infinity, is coloring the text in the shell, in the console. And you can do that in a number of ways. You can import some packages to do that. I think there's one just called color, actually. Or you can actually just print out the color codes to the terminal. So print out the colors of the rainbow. Make them print in their actual color. And here we go. So this is not bad at all. So if we see this run, hopefully it'll work nicely. There you go. You'll see that what it's actually doing is it's printing out these codes. These codes are the I want to say ASCII codes, but I'm not sure if they are. But anyway, the terminal codes that basically say, look, everything from this point forward needs to be red, orange, yellow, green. Printing those codes out, then the title, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then resetting it here. That's what this command is. So we go back to normal afterwards. It's a very, very, very straightforward way of doing it. And in fact, it is in 100 Days of Code. It's one of the first things I teach when I'm just teaching bog standard print statements, I believe, as a bit of fun, because doing a print statement lesson is always really difficult to make it interesting for people. So printing in different colors and stuff is often a way that we do that. And that's a really obvious way. But I'm just going to ask Ghostwriter Chat, can we do the same thing with a package? Here we go. So it's using a package here called term color. So I'll paste that there. I'll click run. You can see it's taking a little bit more time than normal because the package manager has realized that I've asked for the term color package, but I haven't installed it. So it's gone to get that. It's using, it's gone to grab that using a fuzzy matcher. Ian said that they use ANSI codes too. That's what I was looking for. Thank you very much, Ian. It was ANSI codes. Yes. There we go. Bring that back up there. But you can see we got the same thing going on there with the library. Now, probably behind the scenes, that's doing exactly the same stuff as we just did, like the hardcore way, by putting the ANSI codes up on the screen, but actually reads a lot better, I think, when you're using the libraries. We don't do that in 100 Days of Code because once you've introduced the concept, people just tend to like to repeat it. But, you know, That's the point of libraries and packages. They're there to help you out with all this sort of stuff. And in fact, if it weren't for libraries and packages, we wouldn't be able to write amazing AI software. By the way, whilst I'm talking about that, I know, and I know from the comments on this that a few people are rolling their eyes at the amount of AI software that we do trend at the moment. But I want to talk about this Story Storm, which is something that I popped on trending on Monday because I was really blown away by how simple the code is for the end result. And we'll just take a quick look. In fact, I'll just fork it now. Now, as with a lot of these AI-based stuff, you do have to add your own OpenAI API key and a bunch of other API keys here. Most of these are free. If you've just signed up to OpenAI, you get a number of dollars of credit for free to mess around with this sort of stuff. But have a look at the code here. It is what? 74 lines of code. This 74 lines of code allows you to suggest a topic for a story, generate the story, generate the audiobook version of the story, and create images for the story and combine it all together in a nice web interface. We are living at a point where AI technology and libraries and packages means that the amount of code we're writing to produce some genuinely impressive results is very small. And I've seen the comments on this particular REPL because I did the porting for this one. And it's a lot of people going, oh, not more AI stuff. Guys, this is mind-blowing. This is genuinely, for the amount of code you have to write, for the quality of the output, for an old coder like me, this is blowing my mind. Things that would have taken me months, if not years, to implement over thousands of lines of code and would have been really, really fragile, you can now implement with a prompt and an API call. I just encourage everyone not to be dismissive of AI projects, even ones that ostensibly look quite simple, code related here, because it's the interaction and it's getting those prompts to work really well together that is the skill. And it's a skill that we all need to learn to be competitive in the future of software development. Genuinely, the reason we talk about AI so much on Replit is because it is clearly the future. And those of us with the skills to build this stuff will definitely benefit. It's not just people that can use ChatGPT and copy and paste. It's also people that can build and chain these things together on the back end. So these things, like these relatively simple, straightforward projects, are great ways of looking and understanding how those different API calls, those different levels of AI in this case, interact to produce nice, effective output. Go take a look if you haven't. I've got a video coming out on it tomorrow, which is mainly me walking through the process and talking about it and generating a lovely bedtime story about a bald chap that works for Replit getting a wish from a wizard. I'm definitely not Mary suing that character. I definitely am. And the story is quite cool. So hopefully, Infinity, that helps you out with understanding how to color code text in a REPL. And great. Because there's great, not too many people come here. Yeah, it's the problem with having an international audience is my thing. Because we do Replit 101 at the same time, more or less every fortnight, and we have a good group of live viewers, and we have a good group of async viewers as well. But it's how do we get those numbers up? How do we get it so it's more effective for more people? I'd love to do this more often. I'd love to have more people live, because the more people you have live, the better the conversation and the more questions you can answer. And the better the banter. Being British, I can say banter with a straight face. Because there's nothing better than online chat banter when you're doing a live stream, and that's half the fun of it. It's not just me going to the Ask forums and reading things aloud, or watching YouTube videos or whatever. So if we can brainstorm and think of ways to get these live streams with more people, great. If your solution is David, wear a wig, if we can crowdfund the wigs, I will wear them, and that's a promise that I will make. A different wig for every live stream, and I'll be happy to wear them. If that's all it takes to get those viewer numbers up, I will do it. Because I do love doing Replit 101. It is one of my favorite things. Okay, Mert's up next. Hello, David. Your input in Python course is really punctual and funny. I want to ask, when exactly will Learn Hub updates come into the mobile app? Oh, good question. Good question. I know it's on the roadmap, but I do not know when we'll get to it because the mobile team are dealing with, how to get people productively coding on a small screen. And we've done amazing work. Our mobile app team, by the way, oh my goodness me, what a bunch of amazing people doing such wonderful work. And I know there's a common thing with those of us in Western countries a lot of the time going, who codes on a mobile device? And the answer is lots of people do. Lots of people, not only young people, but people from different countries where mobile devices are more easily accessible, in some cases easier to charge than full-size computers, do a lot of coding from it. In fact, the other day, I was running and building and using Ghostwriter whilst I was waiting in a really long queue. And it was great. There was no fuss whatsoever. Just the amount of freedom that gives you as a software developer is huge. I want you to put yourself in the position of somebody that runs a small software, like a small web app for a living. You've probably got a couple of databases that you're running on a couple of servers. You've definitely got a front end and back end website service. You might have an API. You might have a sync service. These are all relatively small things that, a one-person shop can run, or a small team. And you want to go away for the weekend? That's when your databases fall over. That's when your deployment goes dodgy. It's always the same. It's unfortunately the unlucky nature of being a software developer. And when you're a one-person shop, you're the only person responsible for it. I have been able to solve server problems. I've been able to debug database issues. I've been able to update copy on my websites from my mobile phone. It is mind-blowing. So sorry, Mert, to answer your question, I don't know exactly. I know it's on the roadmap and it will be coming. But as with everything mobile, it needs a little bit of a rethink because we can't just take your mobile screen, slap my little face in the corner of it and split the rest off for text because there's not enough room then to do that development. So it's one of those areas which needs a good rethink rather than just sort of diving into it and building the first version we can think of, which is good though, because our mobile team are amazing and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they get with it. In fact, you know what, when they do it, I'll knock up some mobile only content that is specifically learning in a mobile way. And in fact, maybe if I got the time, I might build some videos that are specifically for 100 Days of Code on mobile as well. Some secret little videos that might just drop in there nicely. That'd be good. I think the whispering might have been creepy then. I'm really sorry. Maybe that's why Replit 101 is going on a hiatus for a little bit. But on to the questions. Let's have a look because we've done one ask question today. One. Okay, this one we get a lot. And going through the ask forums this fortnight, I saw variations on this questions about 6 times. I know Ethan and the mods must get frustrated by the repeated questions sometimes, but the repeated questions are there because they're popular and they're commonly asked things. And this is a big one. It's like, how do I keep my Discord bot online 24/7? Here's my code. Here's my REPL link. A lot of the issues you will have with trying to keep a Discord bot online 24/7 in a REPL, especially if you're on the free tier, is because of the nature of how REPLs work. REPLs are virtual machines that are running in the cloud. On the free tier, understandably, we want to run them as cheaply as possible so that we can offer a free tier. This means that the moment you navigate away from it, you're not doing anything with that REPL, it'll probably turn itself off and go to sleep. So your REPL isn't going to stay online. And like traditionally, there have been ways of working around that. Pingers keep alive, stuff like that. But they're very hit and miss. realistically, if you want your Discord bot to be online 24/7, that's why we built deployments, because that's what that is for. In the real world of software development, if you want a service to be online 24/7, you put it on a server, you turn the server on, and you check on it and maintain it, which is exactly what deployments are. It takes your code that you've been testing, it spins up a virtual machine that's online all the time, and it copies the code there and runs it for you. I'd also add one more thing apart from just using deployments, which again, very affordable, very cool. But I say very affordable. If you haven't got money or an ability to put money into Replit to pay for something like deployments, go do a bounty. There are lots of bounties that are small amounts of money. It's not just those big multi-$1,000, I need to be a software developer, I need a history of software development stacks that exist on bounties. Bounties is also lots of small jobs that people want done and they don't have the technical expertise to. If you've done 100 days of code or similar, you have enough technical expertise to do a bounty. Give it a go. Make some money that you can put into running your own services then. So if you do have a Discord bot that you'd like to run 24/7, you could earn the cycles to do that reasonably straightforwardly by doing small value bounties and doing a couple of them every so often. Definitely worth a think about. But the way to do it, and the way to do it reliably, so you know your Discord bot is online as much as it can be, is with deployments. Now, I know I've been promising this for a while, but I do have a new course coming on Discord bots, specifically how to build a currency bot and a small game using Replit DB actually, and using things like interactive buttons and stuff in the Replit interface, in Discord, so you can actually play a game and make money from it and steal from other people and all that sort of cool stuff, which is a bit of fun when you're on a server. So we've got an entire course of that that's been sitting there ready to go for a while for a few technical changes, one of which was deployments. And that should be coming relatively soon, but worth a look. But again, key thing is, if you want it to always be online, deployments is your friend. Absolutely 100% your friend. And that's not me doing a sales pitch. That is literally what deployments was designed for. In fact, if we just head over to any old REPL here, and I click release, I click deploy. Let me move myself because otherwise we're going to see where we are. I click deploy the project. I pick my power. In fact, this would probably be okay for a very simple Discord bot that was just replying to a small server. Of course, you're probably going to need to up that. But 20 cycles a day, what's that? 20 cents a day for making sure my Discord bot was always on. I think that's a bit of a bargain. And if you've got a massive server where you need, a good chunk, 80 cents a day, really, really affordable. But let's pick the simple one and we'll deploy. And when I click deploy, you'll see at the bottom here, I've got two options. Is it a web server? Is it going to be serving up a website to our users, or is it a background worker? And look at the examples there, a Discord or Slack bot. This deployments service was specifically built for things like Discord bots that need to be online and need to be hosted. And you get all the benefits of deployments here. I'm going to destroy that so I'm not being charged for it and wasting all my cycles on that. But deployment was specifically built for this purpose, and you get the benefits such as having a production and a development server. So any work you do in the REPL won't be seen by external people or customers until you click the redeploy button, which is wonderful because that means you can take your time building new features, you can break things on the code, and your site or your bot is still sitting there working away in the background where it was meant to be. Okay. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of Replit 101 for this season. And it's been a long season. How long have we been in Replit 101 now? A few months, certainly. Definitely a good few months. Certainly since we pushed out all of 100 Days of Code, which, what's that, 6 months or so now? So we'll call this 6 months the first season of Replit 101. We will be back, hopefully, especially if that petition picks up signatures. And it'd be really great if you would send me ideas that we can spin this up and do more with it. Please, you can message me on Replit directly. I'm trying to find my email address. Sorry, here we go. Or you can drop me an email, david.morgan@replit.com, so I can see your suggestions and we can try and find reasons to get this coming back and doing that. Mert has got one more question before we go. Appreciate you the thought of it. Excited me. Replit had me so surprised when first time I left my Java course and suggested 100 days of code to my friend. Great. And also, you don't have to do Java because, look, I love Java. It's got a special place in my heart. I feel like Java is the spirit of the 90s made flesh. The problem is, it's 30 years later and we need different languages, especially doing something like machine learning or AI. Python is very much your friend nowadays, guys. But do drop me an email if you've got ideas on what we can do to make these live streams a bit more palatable to more people, and we can get the numbers up a little bit and make it useful for more people. That would be fantastic. Let's have a look. What link are we after? Sorry, Ethan. I can share the link for it. I'll put it in the comments. If you can send it my way, that'd be fantastic. We've got a few people saying C# is greater than Java. I think you can substitute most languages for the first part of that inequality. And they're even saying binary is greater than all other languages. Okay, I think yeah, okay, fair enough. Then I had to say punching holes. Oh, Ethan, you sent me an ask already, have you? Let me see if I can pull that up before we go then, and I can put that in the video as well. Let's have a look. There's my chat. There you are. And oh, it's a change.org petition, is it? Okay, so if you do want to continue Replit 101, please do music playing. Please do pop it to the link there. I'm sorry if I've got a lot of nonsense on that link. That seems like a very long link there. But there we go. If you like... Oh, it was slightly too long. Sorry, it was slightly too long. It put the K from the copy link in the second part there. I'm sure we don't need all that nonsense on there. But if you would like to get involved in the petition, the link is in the chat now, popping up at the bottom if you're watching async. So thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your patronage to Replit 101 for the last few months, and hopefully when we start it up again, I'll get to see you all. But if you are missing my little bald head, don't forget that we do publish videos with me every single week on our YouTube channel, where we are looking at AI, where we are learning things, where we're doing cool stuff with Replit and looking at the new features, and just a bunch of content where I even slip little jokes in at the start occasionally. Come on and say hi in the comments and get those viewing numbers up, because that would be great. Until then, though, I shall see you all very soon. I shall see you in Ask. Please do bring all your questions. Please do bring all your questions to the Ask Forum, ask.replit.com, where I hang out occasionally, but it's mostly our mods like Ethan and Ian, people that will be there to help with your questions, and a great community of people that know what they're talking about when they're trying to answer your questions as well. For now, though, goodbye, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the next season of Replit 101, which should be at some point. Bye.